Everybody back together. Again, we hope that you enjoyed the pathway. If you didn't get to completely work through all the areas, obviously you have the copy, it's there to continue to work through. We do encourage you as a team to kind of continue to unpack it and just think about how do you take those nuggets of information, apply it back to the work happening either at your district level or school level or just within your DLI grant. So at this time, we want to go ahead and move into our rotations. For this one, we do have two rotations. One will be led by myself and Emmy Coleman, and we are going to be, let me advance so you can see the slide. We are going to be focusing on identifying protocols and standards for adopting instructional materials that support effective personalized learning. Again, this came from the evaluation at the end of the last session, as well as conversations that we've been having with several of you between now and then, of really trying to figure out, okay, there's so many resources that our teachers have access to. How do we really start to think about which ones directly support personalized learning and which ones do we just continue to renew the license on for the sake of doing it? Again, going back to that whole definition of insanity. Are we continuing to use the same resources over and over again, expecting different results? When we know that's not going to be the case. So Emmy and I will be leading that breakout. Each breakout will be 30 minutes, so you will get to participate in both. And then the second breakout is going to be led by Jackie Stevens. And she is really going to be diving into this whole concept of educators as designers. How do we really help our teachers see themselves as true instructional designers? And then what are some things and considerations they need to take as they start to design instruction specifically for personalized learning? So again, each breakout's going to be 30 minutes. So after 30 minutes, we will simply, the facilitators will change. So you will stay with your group. The facilitators will quickly switch over between groups and we will kick back in with the second breakout. So at this time, you will see a prompt. You will go into your breakout group for your first rotation and we will see everybody back in an hour after the two breakouts.
That's going to give you this slide deck. I wanted to give it to you in this way so you could easily make a copy of it, reuse any of this. You'll notice the recycle icon on this document. This was created to kind of help you even facilitate some of these conversations and model what personalized learning could look like. And we have until 11:40 where we'll be back with the whole group and we'll be switching out again. So we've got lots to cover, but I want to give you access to absolutely everything. You'll notice in the notes section of this slide deck, there are additional resources and links and some notes and etc. for you. So to introduce myself, my name is Jacqueline Stevens. I am an instructional coach. I've been a coach for 9 years here at the Friday Institute. And during that time and since the late 90s, I've also been a graphic designer and media artist. All right, I'm seeing your note, Tracy, in the chat. Okay, thanks for letting us know. So with my background as in more of an arts sense with technology, and thinking about how as a coach I design content for lessons, and then really thinking about how do we implement personalized learning. Myself and my colleague, Brittany Miller, who is also has her own side job painting. We have teamed heads together and we realized that our design brains, this artistic world, is really no different from the same process that we use when we're thinking about how to implement personalized learning and what that can look like. So we're going to kind of share that with you all today. If at any time you have a question, feel free to unmute your mic and just let me know. The chat is also available, but I don't want to miss anything if it's in the chat. So, all right. So I found it very interesting. I love the etymology of words and where things come from. And the word designer actually came into the English language in the 17th century, and it means one who schemes. So as an educator, we're constantly designing and apparently scheming on how do we actually plan, look for, and work
of something before it's being made or built, right? So like a person who plans the look, the feel, what's being made, built typically is very plain in detail as a designer nowadays. So we're thinking about Educator as a designer as really thinking through all of those details and not just kind of winging it, which you know very well as all that we've talked about today with personalized learning. It's really comes down to detail and coming up with a concrete plan of how to implement. So when Brittany and myself considered what does a designer really need to know or have to do their job, this was our short list. Like these are like the must-haves. First, there needs to be, it doesn't matter what you call it, some kind of creative spark, some kind of innovation. Some people talk about design thinking or out-of-the-box thinking, the idea of a growth mindset or creative problem solving. Whatever you call it, it's just the spark or the will to do something different. So that is essential. Next, you really need to consider a target audience. As a graphic designer, I need to know who I'm designing this for. Who's the target? Same with learning. As a teacher, who's the target? Which class period? Which students are going to be able to handle what? As a coach, adult learning, who's the target? What's the audience? What's the role? So target audience is essential. In a personalized learning, you could have many target audiences, but how do you streamline that? There needs to be a need or an understanding of the context or whatever you're creating, the ability to test and problem solve. So as a graphic designer, I will make a whole bunch of ideas and I will test them. I'll share them. What do you like? What do you don't like? And 9 times out of 10, it's often a design that I also like. But there's always that one client who picks the design that I really don't like. But it's what they want. And I need to remember it's not about me. It's about using the data, the skills, and the tools that I have to make sure that they get what they need and what they want. So with all that being said, again, is there any questions? Let me know. I know I'm going through this pretty quickly. When we think about personalized learning, this is like a giant umbrella over lots of different learning styles and theories and things that we do in the classrooms. So it might be project-based learning, it might be discussion-based, or computational thinking is a new term that's been used a lot lately, blended learning, gamification, experiential hands-on learning. All of this is personalized. So we're just thinking about what your plan is for personalized learning, what this looks like, what your school or district's already doing. You can put personalized learning into all of any of the above. So in order to give you kind of a slice of what we're talking about, Brittany and myself put together a varied amount of different models and things that have been created that have an element of personalization. And while we don't have the time for you to go through true rotation stations, when we did this face-to-face, we had manipulative rotation stations set up around the room. We had a little bit more time, and just to give you the context. And we invited participants to go to the station of their choice, move around at will. There was no time allocation for how much time you had to spend at a particular station. The goal being that we just wanted folks to take a look at the models that we had in order and to think about what some of those things could look like in the context of their own school and district. So we know that rotation stations are a learning model that allows the learner to rotate through stations either on a fixed schedule or a flexible one, and where at least one of the stations is a digital learning station. So for our purposes, you're going to experience a station or stations of your choice in the time that we have in order to kind of create some ideas, get you thinking about maybe a few things. So on slide number 6, which is why I hope all of you have the link, and if not, it is in the chat. Slide 6, each of these circles, these rings, are linked to a slide that has instructions for a much larger, like intensive rotation station. And so, for example, if I click on designing rotations, click on the ring, I'm going to get a link. It's going to open a new tab for me, and it's going to have some instructions. Our goal is not to complete the assignment, but to reflect and look at what the assignment is and how that would work. So we have a link here. Go to a Station Teacher blog post and read the article. And on that post, we welcome you to write some comments, add some ideas using the comment box feature. When we did this face-to-face, it was the written conversations on a very large piece of white paper with some markers. So we're kind of doing the same thing. But the goal is not to get, is really to really look at that article and then reflect on the Padlet link below. And on this Padlet link, we decided to keep everyone's comments from even the face-to-face sessions that we did, because we thought it was very important for you to be able to crowdsource some ideas and some reflections. So we invite you to go ahead and to add, depending on the rotation station that you check out, you can add some thoughts. Going back to slide 6, I'll go ahead and I'll click on designing student-driven learning for as an example. I'm going to click on that link. It's going to take me to my instruction deck. Again, the goal is not to complete the assignment or get too sucked into what it is, but to really look at and reflect on what you're seeing, what elements of it stand out to you, and with that kind of design mind and knowing your audience and your needs, what's resonating with you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat or go ahead and you can unmute your mic and ask. But I want to give you, unfortunately we don't have a whole lot of time, I want to give you 10 minutes to your choice. You can click on one, explore it, you can browse and check it out. And feel free to add to that Padlet link that is at the end of all of the instructions. You'll see that. I just want to give you a time to kind of look at how, in many different ways, we have added elements of personalization in all of these. So I'll let you dig in if you haven't already started, and if you have any questions, please let me know. So 10 minutes goes by very quickly, and we wanted to make sure, and you'll see in the notes on slide 6, that you have the links to all of these examples and these models. The goal being that we wanted you to take a look at some things, think about some things, but also have these links so you can share these with your colleagues and have a much broader discussion. So, having taken a look at some of these stations, I'm seeing in the chat, thank you for the station rotation resources. They're amazing. Thank you very much. And it's really important to kind of reflect on the experiences. And while this experience was incredibly brief, there are some really great things linked here. So for the folks that took a look at designing rotation stations, this is kind of thinking outside the box a little bit of your traditional rotation station, what they look like. The designing for differences. Did anybody get a chance to look at that one? This takes you to a fantastic resource, understood.org, which we partner with and help us create our Learning Differences massive open online course for educators, and is loading slowly. But on that site, if you scroll to looking for the simulations, there's some great and very interesting interactive simulations that I encourage you to share with your staff, because it is showing how a student might be distracted, or if the instructions aren't done in a particular way. And it's designed to be incredibly frustrating, and it can lead to some really great conversations with you and your staff, thinking about what the choices for personalized learning can look like for you guys, what you really want to hone in on, and what is important. So all of these resources, again, wanted to give you this slide and give you a copy of it so that you can dig into these resources and look deeper. They really are some great models, some great pedagogy, but also adding that element of path, pace, and place. So I'm going to jump
to slide 8. And we know based on the very general description of personalized learning these are the elements that come out of it that we know that are absolutely essential. Targeted instruction that supports problem solving to meet goals or targets. That there's some kind of reflection or ownership quality for the learner through different kinds of strategies for learnings or prompts, getting the learner to share their passions for their work, engaging their understanding before every lesson, like there's some examples in there, anything that's going to reinforce that. We know data-driven decisions are crucial in personalized learning, understanding that they act, getting the teacher and the students to both understand and act on their strengths and needs, personal growth projects, and lots of opportunities for reflection and feedback. And then lastly is flexibility. Flexibility not only in the environment, right? We talked about flexible learning environments in our first session together, but also differentiated instruction, really allowing flexibility for students to see their own interests in what is designed. So the content can be the same, the pedagogical approach could be the same, but maybe how their final project looks or their focus may be different. So in an effort to really help you guys have conversations with your schools and districts, on slide 6, each of these rings are linked to a concept, an idea that we encourage single point rubrics. Single point rubric, if you're not familiar with it, you can click on that first ring. It takes you to a blog that kind of explains it. You know, rubrics, they have like all these columns and where's our target, now we gauge. Single point rubric is one line. What's our goal? What's our target? And then we decide if something's not on target or if we've exceeded that. And it can be very simple, not only with working with our students to help them hone in and engage where they need to grow and celebrate what they have done well. But it can also be really helpful in working with colleagues, especially thinking about what you want your personalized learning focuses to hone in on. What are your expectations? The second ring in the middle is an article as to why use a single point rubric, if you're curious as to the impact and the value that this can lead. And lastly, I want to point you to an example that I have made when it comes to personalized learning based on the elements that we know are in every definition that we have come across and what the research tells us is vital. So you can see the criteria right down the middle. These are the goals. And this is in a form that you can copy of it, and you can edit it, and you can change it, or take out the middle and design this with your team. What is the criteria for? I just put the title of personalized learning up on the top of this, and I added in the things that we're seeing as a definition is like truly helpful and what we truly want to see in personalized learning. Take this, tweak it, change it. If this is something that resonates with you and your team, you feel like it's going to be helpful to facilitate conversations with your staff, please do so. Also, highly recommend that you give a blank one to your staff and ask them to come up with the criteria that they think is most important and then do a mashup. Then there's lots of ownership and everybody's in this together and everyone understands the criteria and the goals for personalized instruction in the classroom. So in the 2 minutes that we have remaining, I want to just kind of share slide 10. It's just got some additional things to think about when we're talking about student agency and educator advocacy. We want students to be able to advocate for themselves. We also really need to encourage our staff to speak up and tell us what they need. It's something that we're seeing is really lacking, and a lot of the folks that we work with just are struggling and they don't feel that they know how if they work in a culture where they can actually speak up and ask for what they need. So there's some things to think about. Again, this is a prompt to have a really deep, rich conversation with your staff. And slide 12 has additional resources and links and information for you all based on what we've talked about, but also those resources in our rotation. So in the 1 minute we have left, are there any questions? And I'm so sorry that was so fast. All right, if you do have any questions, my contact information is in the notes on the very first slide of this presentation. I hope that you feel free to make a copy of this, save this, and feel free to tweak it, change it, use it to help facilitate these conversations with your staff. This is the reason why it's designed in the way that it is, and that hopefully helping them see themselves as designers as well as educators. I believe in a moment we're going to be, I'm going to be switched out for your next facilitator. So I'm not sure when that will happen, but it will be momentarily. Again, if you've got any questions, please let me know, but please feel free to dig into this deeper. This is created for you to reflect on and explore. Again, if there's any questions, let me know. But momentarily, we will be, your facilitators will be switching and we'll be staying put.